Welcome back to another episode. Before we begin, I would like to mention that in this episode, we've referenced several individuals by name, and to respect their personhood and privacy, we've chosen to bleep those names. We've tried to assign unique sounds to each person mentioned to help you follow along with the conversation. Hope it's not too confusing, and that you'll also enjoy it. Thank you for understanding.
Wait, before we actually start, is there any, topics you're thinking about?
Well, I like the topics you brought, and I'm a little nervous of talking some of them.
I know. I just wanted to touch base on, we don't have to spend too much time, but I know, because it affected you a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, not a little bit, but it did affect you. And,
oh, that one too. Yeah. I'm not even thinking about that one.
Wait, which one?
No, I want to talk about
the article I sent you.
Yeah.
Really? Oh,
that one makes me a little nervous.
I know. Did you get to read through it all?
Yeah.
I read through it, but I'm not too sure. I'm kind of unsure of sort of understanding it.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because it's kind of hey, this is kind of out there just in case,
Yeah. So it's weird. We could talk about. I'm concerned about what I would say.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing.
Yeah.
So I'll try it when we go through there. I might talk slower just because I want to be 100% sure what I want to say.
I'm glad that you brought. I want to talk slower, and I still want to eliminate my likes because I noticed on some subjects when I got excited, I was like, "Oh my god, I've done that!" I was like, "So
yeah." So not social media likes, right? Which you shouldn't care about.
No. I meant likes, oh my god,
the hesitance, whatever.
Yeah, I feel like when I get excited about a topic, I just start talking to.
I do hums a lot. I think I do that.
I'd rather do that. Well, I mean, because
that's you just want to get rid of them.
I know, it's just the only way to eliminate is just pause, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, my laugh's annoying. That's something that
I
find it annoying when
we always find stuff about ourselves we think it's annoying, right?
There's this. Yeah, this is true. It's not the Lifeline podcast that you're talking about, but my friend showed me a thing that he listens to that's very similar to a Lifeline, but it's in Washington, and they have this guest.
You started already?
It sounds like a Disney movie or I'm not gonna come back ever. I hate you guys. It's kind of like Home Alone where it's I hate you guys, and then wakes up and is what? I made my family disappear.
No, okay, hold on. We could talk about that too, the ego stuff.
Yeah.
So, what was he saying?
You probably know a lot about it just because, the philosophy books that you read and stuff.
We could see. Well, I mean, that's more psychology, and I know a little bit of, Jung and, or Jung, however you pronounce it, and I know a little bit of, what's the guy's name? Why do I forget?
Marcus Aurelius. No.
No.
Oh, shit.
No. Ego, I'm thinking... Oh my gosh.
Plato.
The guy who coined the Oedipus complex.
Oh, yeah.
Sigmund Freud.
Oh, why does that sound familiar? Sigmund Freud. Oh, that's he did a bunch of papers and everything, right?
Yeah. Okay. He's all about the Oedipus complex and how everything sexual has a sexual motivation, and everything kind of stems from a man's psyche. I'm pretty sure it's only from the man's psyche that he talked about, which was how it relates to the mothers. It's a sexual tension that happens between a man and his mother, and how that's motivating a lot of our behaviors. In a very
behaviors overall.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow. A lot of it is sexually motivated.
Oh.
That's that's his thing. That's why the Oedipus complex. Have you heard of the Oedipus mythology? Right, the guy that takes his eyeballs out because once he realizes he was sleeping with his mother. No. It's a cool myth. It's a cool myth. And it was a play, and a poem. Not what we count as poems now, but anyway. But we could get back to that, the ego stuff. But no, the thing that I was talking about, which was shit. What was I saying before we? Oh, come on. Let me think.
Sexual tension with your mother.
No. No.
Or sexual tension with the mother.
No. You brought that up with the ego, but before we talked about ego and before we were, like, the door opened. Oh, boy. This is going to
talking about ego, like, oh, you must know more about it. Like, oh, Marcus Aurelius. Or like, oh, no, it's this. And then Sigmund Freud. No. I'm sorry. I'm terrible.
No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It'll come.
It'll bounce back eventually, randomly. Oh, what's this?
I don't know. Beats me. Anyway, fires, which was not what we were talking about, but
we want to lead into this?
I mean, oh well, this is true. Let's talk personally. Like, how have you been, Pat? How have you been? It's been a week.
I've been good. The week's been good. Compared to like last week, for sure, I've been good. But again, it's not like, oh, I'm always gonna feel great, like exponentially, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, there's some days this week I'm just like, oh, I feel like crap. But the majority of the days I felt pretty good. It's kind of weird with my schedule because although I do have 5 classes, it's weird because it's kind of like, you ever feel that that feeling where like I should be doing something because you know you have a lot on your plate, but you're like, no, I'm good. Like I finished most of my work for this week, and
I haven't had that feeling in a while.
I feel bad, but that's like, so a lot of my classes are online, so I have 3 classes that are online.
But it's a good feeling.
It's a good feeling, but it also sucks because I'll be driving there just for like 1 or 2 classes, and then like again, like I know I'm making the most of it by going to the rec center and studying, but it's weird because I feel like I should be doing more, but then I'll look at my to-do list from like on Canvas, which is like the most colleges and high schools and colleges use it to submit work or look at projects. It used to be called Blackboard. That's Blackboard, but now it's Canvas. And I'll look at my to-do list.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like, I'll look at my to-do list and there's.
I remember that.
I was like, oh okay, I guess it's only this week, and so it's I feel like the first week 1 through 3 you kind of try to see how your schedule's gonna look or how the classes work as a dynamic, whether this class is gonna be really demanding or this class wasn't. I thought it was gonna be demanding, but it's not too much. So that's why I'm like this. It's kind of weird how quarters work out where like I'm spending more time with classmates, but this quarter allowed me to like get back into podcast, like doing our podcast again. So the schedule is cool.
So you're not, well, you've been going to poly, but you I guess what I mean by that is like because you told me that a lot of them were online, so it was telling me that perhaps you wouldn't actually have to go to poly as much.
No, I still have to go Monday through Friday.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Do you ever wander at poly?
I should do that, honestly.
Dude, I miss
I literally just go. I go to my class, or I'll go to the rec center. I don't really wander that much.
No?
I mean, I have been parking in different places at Poly just to see, like, let me see if I go this way and see what I see, you know?
Yeah.
And, I've been parking behind, like, the rec center.
Yeah.
Just
Have you used the market?
Yeah, I've used the market, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of overpriced stuff, but...
Oh, heck yeah, dude.
But I get it's because it's, like, they're paying for convenience.
Is Starbucks still in there?
They have a Scout Coffee, like, on the other side of the...
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
On the other side of the campus.
Like, well, where the U is at? Like,
no, it's
that's
like...
still Starbucks there?
It's weird. I think it's, like, on the other side of, like, campus.
It's where... Yes. It's, like, more like where the rec center is, around there. Like, up there.
Yeah, I would go, but it's so...
It used to look so ugly around there. Now, they've really...
There's just, like, big... I'll take a picture of one of them in my Kines classes, but it's, like, a big Cal Poly sign with letters and stuff, and I'm sure they take it for engagement on the social media for...
Social fronts.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, because, like, the incoming students that are going to potentially go there,
they want to be tagged.
Yeah, they want to take pictures with their parents. Like, oh, my God, I'm at Cal Poly. Which is an exciting time. I'm not downplaying that, but...
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. I get it. I guess this is a hot take, perhaps, but, like, I hate it when cities put these, like, huge letters of the city. It just looks ugly. I mean, it's for the gram, I get it, but, and it promotes it more, but it's just ugly. I find it ugly. Like, especially, like, in Mexico, I love my cities over there, where my towns where I go, and all of a sudden, you just randomly see these huge letters, like... in some historical place. It just looks ugly. Like Pismo Beach did that, which was, I mean, it's kind of cool if it's on the ground, but like in person, they're kind of ugly, you know.
Yeah, they
So,
kind of
like,
stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, they need to get rid
That's
of
how
them.
the cow party letters in the middle. It's in the middle of the U.
Yeah.
It's on the grass area.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like we should go back because I think it's like 1905, which is like where all the like places where you can go eat at.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot different now for sure. We should go check it out one of these days.
Oh, I see. But yeah, I find those lettering like annoying. I yet to see a city that does them right, which I wouldn't know what that looked like.
Yeah, I mean, what? There's Las Vegas that has it.
Yeah.
Las Vegas has like "Welcome to Las Vegas" and like the thing.
Oh, that sign on the side of the road.
Yeah, on the side
yeah,
of-
that's kind of cool. Yeah, that's iconic. Or like, let's say like Paris, right? They don't need to have that. They just have the Eiffel Tower or the freaking Notre Dame, and like maybe the city just needs something iconic. Build something nice.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
But the week's been good. How's everything been?
Me, good for the most part. Doing this app still, it's taking longer to design than I thought. At least to do a mock-up. And what else? Kids are being like taken care of by someone now, like not an official daycare center, but someone who takes care of them.
How was that?
It was nice. Well, it was weird. I always get like parent guilt, like, oh, my kids, where are they? Like, they want to be with us. Yeah. No, she didn't cry.
Oh, okay, I know.
But she was concerned when we left her the first time. She's like, oh, like don't cry, don't worry.
Yeah.
But then like even though she's probably happy, like every time we go there, now she knows. And it's only been like 3 or 4 days. She knows that she goes there, and she's happy to be there, which is a relief for us because like she's having a good time being there. And Miguelito couldn't be the wiser. I think he doesn't care. He loves people, so like he's still flirty as ever. So he flirts with that lady. Because like when he went the first time, it was funny because like, and I told this to Abby too. I just told her today. It's like the first time she didn't see it, but like I had him. I gave it to her. She took him, and he was like inspecting her, just kind of like with this serious face, looking at her.
Oh, he's already trying the.
And then he looks at me like, and then I'm just like, you want to come back? And then I grab him, and he kind of comes to me. Then he looks at me again, and then looks at her. He goes like, and starts smiling at her, and then she's like, oh, you want to come back? And then she's like, he puts out her arms towards her, like,
Dang.
she wants to be carried by her, like, oh, you little devil. So that's kind of cute, and so he's happy to be in anyone's arms, really. And so that was kind of nice, but every once in a while I do get like parent guilt because like we'll be at home and sitting, or like Abs and I will have free time to ourselves. It just feels like cheating. It's like we shouldn't have time for ourselves. We should have with kids.
Yeah, I mean, but me and Sam touched on this, I think, like off air one time. But I think because we understand what it was like when we were raised by our parents, we feel guilty when we leave our kids to someone else, or when we actually get free time, like you said, because that term latchkey kids, like our parents and our generation, they left us alone, and they feel like, okay, hey, you guys know how to cook, you guys know how to do this, like we're gonna go to work, we'll be back later tonight.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was okay, but we learned like, oh, okay, that's just what it was. Like, it wasn't anything like, oh my god, I felt neglected, or no, I didn't feel like that. It felt like, oh, okay, like mom and dad has to go make money so like they can provide for us. It wasn't, we weren't taking it, but we didn't understand. In the hindsight of things, like now that we're older, like it did affect us in some sort of way, right?
Yeah. Do you feel like your parents were strict?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom was super strict.
Like did you ever? We might have talked about this before, but did she ever let you have sleepovers?
No,
or
my mom hated
and stay
that. My mom hated. So again, my mom's an old traditional Filipino woman.
Yeah.
And she was really like, I don't know if like this is shared amongst some Mexican culture too, but my mom, she felt like so my mom thought as like if I were to go spend the night or hang out at someone's house, she took it offense as if like we have food in like a house of our own. Like, why do you want to go?
Oh.
Why do you want to go over there? We had that here, but she doesn't.
Interesting.
She doesn't understand the grand schemes. I just wanted to hang out with my friends. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to make friends and spend time with them.
Yeah.
But she thought took it as offense where, like, I can't provide this for you. Like, why are you going over there to like go for?
When did she start getting more lenient?
Oh my.
What, like in high school, was she still the same?
Dude, high school and even my early 20s and even to this day, like she'll make you feel guilty for like, oh, like you're really gonna stay over there, like you're being a burden to them, or it's just like, Mom, it's not like that. Otherwise, they would have told me. You know?
I think if I would have stayed with my parents and like did with what you did, like stayed commune, from my parents' house, I think that sort of relationship that I have with my parents, specifically my mom, and I probably wouldn't have ended that part of our lives where she was. I wouldn't call it controlling. Would you call it controlling? I don't know. It was just like a misunderstanding. Like she just didn't understand that. Like I wanted to spend more time over there. So when I left to Slow and stayed there, it's like in her brain, she kind of probably realized I left the nest. You know. So I maybe that helped her, but yeah, like you, like in high school, I remember I was invited to this like huge party, once, and I was gonna go with friends, and at the last moment, as I was gonna go, she said no, and my friends were here already, like ready to go, and my dad, he's not gonna contradict her, so he's like, you can't, you're not allowed to go.
That's happened so many times.
And I'm here with friends like. You're really gonna do that and make me look bad in front of all my friends? Yeah. And basically, I didn't go, and they did, and it's like, yeah. And then I remember the girl who invited me because it was her house, and she invited me. That was the first time I was invited by someone that I didn't have class with her. It was just someone that I met around in school that we constantly like met up because our classes kind of like. We're always like nearish each other, so you know how you go from one block to another. Our classes were for whatever reason were like near, so we just happened to always like walk on the same hall, and then after time we just kind of like, hey, let's walk together or whatever. And she had invited me. I don't want to say names because then I don't know.
That's fine.
Yeah,
you don't have to say names.
But she invited me. You should come. Bring your friends or whatever. I would like you to go. And I said, yeah, I'll be there. And then the next day when she told, it's like, dude, why didn't you go? And you could tell that she was bummed that I didn't go. I'm like, fuck. I'll tell you later who it was.
No, it's fine. I feel that because my mom's done that to me so many times, and it's just you'll be like ready, dressed, and you're like, she's like, where are you going? It's like you couldn't tell me before I took a shower and actually put my clothes on. Like, hey, like.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I remember my senior year. I could have had this relationship with this girl, which I'll tell you who it is later. Sorry, guys. But I remember she was clearly wanted to know me better, and I pushed her away because I knew that there would be this awkward moment where I'd want to go out and I wouldn't be able to because of home. So I just kind of like pushed her away because of that. Yeah. And then eventually she got a boyfriend, and then that was the end. Eventually I did have some sort of relationship with her, but it was never like an official thing. But I still regret that I didn't live that like part of my life in a very natural way, a very like that kind of stuff. So anyway, it was just something that.
Wait, you're saying that you wish your parents weren't like that, so you can live out that part where you can I feel that.
Yeah. So I was just afraid of like opening up to her because I knew that like that part would be awkward. I'd be ashamed if I would make it more complicated because of that, and then she would know. I don't know. It was just a part that I just didn't like.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get that. It's just, I think I always like relate it back to where it's just different generations they lived in. And so I get it. They're trying to just look out for the best of us, and they think they're looking out for the best of us, but in reality, you're just like, oh, like they don't have the resources that we have where we can like we can look back and be like, okay, I was a little hard on Miguel, or I was a little hard on. You know, it's just.
You know what pisses me off even more? Sorry.
No, you're good.
When I tell them about those moments, and they're like, We never did that. Like,
Dude, I hate that. It's you.
That never happened.
They're trying to act like it didn't have like affect you or anything.
Like, and they're like, I seriously don't remember that. Like, oh man, just like stop. I don't want to talk about this anymore. And then they keep going. It's like that never happened, Sam. I don't remember that. And then they like look at each other like. Parents like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, oh god damn it, guys! They should never, because I remember this was brought up because they said they were talking about like we were good parents, right? Like, do you guys remember? And would bring it up. Yeah, I don't remember that. And it's like, Jesus, seriously.
Oh man, I hate it because
I feel so disrespected.
Dude, it's just because they want to remember themselves like, oh yes, like I was a good parent. Yeah, but I get it because I've told many people this, and I probably talked about it on here, but my mom. She thought, because she worked multiple jobs. I believe at one point she worked 3 jobs, and then at one point she just worked 2 for the majority of the time. But she felt, again, she's never told me this, but I understand from like now that I'm older. As long as you had food, clothes, a home, to, like cover your head, that was love,
Yeah.
And I don't know if I talked about this on here, but I mean, when my mom growing up, like we never said I love you. She never like gave me kisses. She never gave me hugs. So. Again, it kind of affected me in ways where like I was in relationships or even like with people too. Like physical touch is still kind of hard for me, but like hugging someone. I mean, I can hug someone. Don't get me wrong. It's just for me when I was actually out on my own. Like you're saying, like when you're actually venturing and doing your thing, like oh okay, this is normal. Okay, or hey dude, I love you, man. Or hey, I love you. Like if it's your significant other, right? But yeah, that was a little weird for me because coming from a home where I didn't receive that, and then seeing other families and friends that did it, you're just like, oh, this actually happens. And so when it wasn't happening in your home, you felt weird. You're like, oh, but then at the same time for myself, I knew like this was how my family operated.
Yeah. So
it didn't bum me out, but you're just like, oh, so other families do this, but my family doesn't do it. And you're like. But I at one point you kind of just understand like this is how like your family just operates, and I hate to say like you can't change that.
Yeah.
But it does kind of bum me out because I always say to myself like it would kind of pain me to say like God forbid something happens to my brother or my mom, I don't get to say I love them or give them a hug.
Yeah. So do you not say it that often?
I said it to them before, but I want to say my mom almost kind of makes it awkward.
Yeah.
She's like, or like when I try to hug her, she tries to squirm away, or yeah, because she's not. Again, she probably didn't grow up with that either, so it's kind of weird for her too.
Yeah, I know that my grandfather was very strict. I'll have to ask. Actually, this is probably something I should ask permission from my parents to say because I know my grandfather, my two grandparents from my dad's side. It's a very interesting story that I think is worth telling, but I'd probably need to ask permission. But it was just something along the lines that you were saying that he was pretty harsh.
Yeah.
But you could tell my dad that he missed. He misses my grandfather, his dad, and you can tell that he loved him a lot, and probably wished to have more of a relationship with him. You can kind of tell, and I think he was trying to compensate that because for us, he was very affectionate. He very, very affectionate, very playful. So I think he tried to compensate that with us. So my dad was strict, but my mom was the stricter one, and so whenever we'd get permission, we'd try to ask my dad first. And so that my mom doesn't contradict. Right? Yeah.
That's always the case.
It's funny how Elena's already kind of like catching on to that because she'll go to my mom like, ask permission for something. Like, and mom would be like, or Abby would be like, no. And she'd turn around and go to the day, like, tell me like, I'll be like, Mama said no, so no. And I'm like, oh. And sometimes she'll go with she'll go to my sister when she doesn't like it and show her like the candy that she wants to open. Like,
Just goes to so someone actually like says she's playing the numbers game. Someone's got to tell her say yes to
All
me.
she needs is one yes. No, I mean that's an awesome perspective. It's just in the wrong place to do it. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yep.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things that like I feel like in childhood definitely affects how you grow up or how you what is it, nature versus nurture type stuff. Where,
yeah, I think that's true. I wonder how many people went through that. I feel like most of quad people that we grew up with kind of lived in similar households.
a lot of friends. I mean, a lot of friends that I talk to, basically that. Again, there's a term for it for a reason. I feel it's just because parents who raised us at that time that they're in a generation that was just different and.
Yeah. I wonder because they're all what they're all baby boomers, right? They all lived during that time of post World War II, which was the hippie era and the rise of like serial killers. You know, I was watching that show. I think I've watched it like 3 times already. Mindhunter. Have you seen that on Netflix? Oh, that's great. It's only 2 seasons. I love that it's only 2 seasons, but just the whole I think they really did a good job of capturing the psyche at the time and what was like fearing. And they grew up from that time where they had absent fathers who were probably in World War II, and also, very they learned that people are just evil for no good reason, and people started locking their doors from the house. So I'm only speculating that they probably grew up during that time of like paranoia and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I would love to see if there's any researches on that stuff. And yeah, I definitely was one of those kids that experienced that with my mom. Definitely affected my childhood, but. Again, I think the one thing, though, too, is the more that I listen to or hear about it is you can't guilt your parents about it. Or you can't forever put them I resent my parents for that. You just have to just...
Yeah, no, I agree.
Forgive it and just understand, it was just they're living a different generation. And also, it does suck because... Would I say they robbed you of experiences and possibly possible relationships? Possibly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't... forever hate them or resent them for that. I feel like they were honestly just trying to look out for the best of you without knowing that was going to be... Because again, like you said, your parents I don't remember that. Because they probably thought, well, we were doing the best for you at the time, so we didn't see anything wrong with it, right?
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, we're protecting Sam from potential drunk drivers or drugs and alcohol. But they didn't see they affected you possibly going to experience a party with your friends, possible romantic relationship with someone in high school, and
honestly, they tried their best, dude. It's not easy to be a dad, and right now I'm having it easy because they're toddlers. But I could already see this is gonna be very tricky,
dude.
And you have to make decisions as a parent. If you're just not making decisions, always maybe not. It's not good for a kid either. Mm-hmm. I'd say that's probably worse. If you're a parent that can't make decisions. So, yeah, have you ever seen the movie? It had Bruce Willis in it, called The Kid.
Oh, yeah. That was the Disney one? Yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah, and I remember the movie did a really great job at, because he had, social issues, right? And he couldn't, he hated people, he realized, and part of that, and he hated his dad, too, but when he goes back in time and realize and kind of heal that portion of... and this might tie well with the ego and everything, but he had to go back in time, relive the moment that he experienced, the trauma where it had happened. It was basically when he realized that he was losing his mom, and somehow dad resented or put a lot of the blame on him and made him hate his dad and hate his childhood. He hated himself because of his dad, and he hated who he was, so he tried to erase that, right? And so but it did a good job at saying it's not really father's fault either. He told his... I love that image, that because we talked about taking care of your younger self, and there's that image where Bruce Willis takes his younger self, the 8-year-old, gives him a hug and says you'll be okay, and that's a beautiful image of you embracing your younger self and the younger self that needs that affection. And saying you'll be okay. Don't hate your dad because he did his best, and that's what he tells him. Wait, that's a beautiful moment. Yeah.
How long ago did you see this movie?
Well, I see it every once in a while, because I have it, so I'll just kind of pop it up.
See, I need to rewatch it because I feel how if you watch shows or movies and we talked about with Jingle All the Way, the sexual innuendo, is something that you catch or the message that you catch. I have to watch them.
Yeah, no, I watched it recently. Every time I watch it now as an adult, it's like it hits different every time. Man. It's like, oh damn, I gotta. I mean, a lot of the jokes and stuff just kind of are cringy because it's a different era.
Yeah.
But you still appreciate what they were trying to do, and part of it was honestly the part where he's there. The part where he's trying to consolidate himself, the other kid. That's probably the most touching scene because I think it touches us as adults because you know how we treat ourselves and how we think of ourselves.
Yeah.
And there you see him being compassionate to himself and trying to say, like, you'll be fine, like, don't worry about your future. Like, you'll be fine. And that just, like, it makes you fog your eyes as an adult because, like, it's so true for each one of us. Like, we need to do that.
I still feel like I need to do that, like, to this day. Like,
yeah.
We'll touch on it more because it's definitely what we want to talk about. But, yeah, I still struggle with some of that stuff to this day. And that's why maybe, like, last week was such a big eye-opener for me when I had that revelation with, like, my classmate and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was, like, that conversation last week, or maybe it was something where, like you said, I was connecting with people, or I don't know what it was, but yeah, I still struggle with some of that to this day, again, because, I didn't receive a lot of that love from my mom.
Yeah.
I received it in a different form. It wasn't, like, like the traditional way of, like, hugs and kisses, but it was, she provided for me whenever she wanted, like, any game that I wanted, even though I was a brat about it, she would buy me it. Clothes, shoes for the first day of school. She did that, and so I mean, as a kid, you don't think that's love. You're just like, I don't want shoes. But I mean, you look back, you're like, oh man, she bought me shoes. Like, cool.
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's just hindsight. You look at it and you look back at the things that your parents did for you, and you're just like, wow, like our parents were really, for the more. I mean, like we can safely say at least for my parents, and hopefully for yours, but. As long as they weren't abusive or anything like that, I feel like for the most part, they were, like you said, they were doing the best that they could. And yeah, I look at my mom and just like, man, how did she... my dad passed away when I was 6, so she was a widow ever since I was 6.
Yeah.
And I think...
Must have been really tough, man.
Yeah, and so she had that... Like, remember we were talking about ego? Like, she didn't want any help from any of my relatives or family members. She wanted to, like, make sure, like, I'm not taking any money from your uncle because my uncle was kind of, he was decent and well off in San Francisco, and it was my brother's. It was my dad's brother, and so I think he offered to come down to like be that father figure in my life because again, my mom can only do so much, but yeah, my mom, she was very. Ego's not the word, but she was prideful. She wanted to make sure that she could do it on her own. She didn't want to look like she struggled.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so that's why she picked up 2-3 jobs.
What do you think of that? Like, I mean, obviously we respect your mom. Like, she high respect from me to her because I know what it's like to raise. Well, I don't know what it's like to raise an adolescent by yourself, but I myself with little kids, I'm already kind of struggling. And Abby constantly needs my help. I need constantly her help. Probably I need her more than she needs me with the kids most of the time. But like. Oh, dude, I can't imagine like leaving Abby alone, even just for like 2 hours with kids. It's like, yeah, that's a lot. And your mom did that stuff for most of her life, most of your life at least.
Yeah, and I mean for most of my life for sure. I think about that, and I mean looking at like I'm 33, about to be 34 in a couple of months, but I tip my cap to her. I wish I could. I mean, again, this is where I grew up. Like how I wish I could tell her these things, but she would probably take it a weird way. Like, why are you telling me these things now? Yeah. but I just
maybe on Mother's Day.
Yeah, maybe. We'll wait for a right time of sentiment.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Freaking January 24th, and it's just
yeah. It's like what?
Okay. But dude, she's amazing, man. The fact that she just had it within herself that she didn't want to like have any help, and she could easily took the easy. She also didn't want to take food stamps.
Yeah, my family didn't either. That's okay. Weird, and I know that my family would have benefited from that.
Yeah, and like as I look at it back, and I told my mom, why didn't you do that? Like I won't say you were struggling, but it would definitely helped a little bit off your plate.
Yeah,
like, because you have a lot on your plate. But
yeah,
again, I think it goes back to the prideful thing. I think they don't want to take any handouts from society or anything like that.
Yeah, but okay, so back to the question, like, what do you think about that attitude? Like, this is not a judgment on your parents. At this point, like, how do you feel about integrating that part that your mom, that your mom's attitude towards life, how do you feel about you integrating that into your own life? You know, I guess maybe another way of asking is like, what do you think? Like, is there any critique there that you would give? Like, is that something that you want to imitate?
I mean, it's part of like who I am to this day. I mean, I work really hard in the gym. I mean, you know, academic wise, it was off and on, but for the most part, I work full time.
Mm-hmm.
I do full time school, so it's instilled in me. But because I've seen it from a young age, I'm like, well, my mom's working that pretty hard, like that hard. I can't be like, you know, I can't look like a sucker compared to her.
Yeah.
So I want to say I wanted to do those things to show her like, hey, like I'm not a failure in your eyes. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely in my game. But the one thing, the negative that I see from it is like, I wouldn't say she grounded herself into a pulp. But I remember there were times where when I was little, I think she got an ulcer one time. And so, I mean, I don't know if you know what ulcers are. Basically like, it's stress related. So it's like, it's basically like a hole in your stomach.
Yeah.
And so she had that one time in her life. And I understand like there were times in her life where it was super stressful, whether it was, maybe a lot of it was because of me and my brother, but also because like I had sporting events and she had to go travel and get off of work, and then like who's gonna take you because I can't take you, and it's just normal parent stuff. But I think her attitude towards it is definitely admirable and definitely to model for. But obviously we look at it now because every generation kind of learns or overcorrects from the previous generation how they did it. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like we talked before, this generation of parenting, I want to say we're going to be helicopter parents, but it's more, we're going to be more involved with with our children. And we're going to be, okay, hey, well, I want to say we're going to be nitpicky or almost analytic about every single little thing. We're like, oh, what if we would have done that could we have prevented this?
Yeah.
Like, but I think to poke holes in the game, I think if she could have took care of herself, but who knows if she had the time to even do that. She did. Again, we didn't have the resources like we do now, as far as like having therapy or talking to a psychologist. Because again, it goes back to our generation. Our generation thought seeing a therapist or a psychologist meant that something was mentally ill with you. Mm-hmm. You were weak, and they just didn't want to show any signs of that. But for us, our generation, it's not a stigma anymore. Like I've gone to see a therapist a couple times. I don't know if you have, but I mean,
I have.
It's such a game changer because it allows you to be vulnerable with a therapist, and also it's help from an unbiased position. Yeah. And so they can help you by not being biased. You know what I mean? Like if you go to a friend, like they're most likely than not, they're gonna be looking for the best interest for you, right?
Yeah. I when I was at Poly, I took advantage of the health center. Yeah. And I would go just to see a therapist and found a guy there that was matched like, I wouldn't say energy, like I hate using that language, but really matched like what I needed from a guy, you know, like to tell me, a therapist to tell me. I also actually at first it was a girl and she was really good too, but she had to leave, and then because then she realized that I was, you know, I might have ADHD, so she sent me to this guy who deals with ADHD people, and just he has this like regimen, and so when he talked to me, it's like it clicked. It's like he knew what I needed to hear as someone who might have that, and then he sent me to another therapist eventually that cost money, and I paid for that and diagnosed. And we did all these tests, and I would like overperform in so many things, but there were certain like tasks that like I tried to do that I just couldn't, and I was at the lowest percentile of those things, and and he's like, yeah, that's a like, so yeah, well, anyway, so but I liked going to therapists because when I didn't need one, because I didn't know that I had like a particular like attention disorder, but it made sense once I got diagnosed. And again, it's one of those things that gets overdiagnosed. So at the same time, like, take it with a grain of salt. It's like a lot of us, if we go, they probably would diagnose us with that. But even when I didn't think that, I liked going because it was something like going to therapists, having a second party that has no involvement in your life could help you like ground your feet on the ground, like making sure you like if you're loose or no, not that you're crazy, but like are you are you out of your mind by thinking things that you probably don't need to, or you probably just need another voice to tell you, no, that stuff's not out of the ordinary. Recently, though, actually not recently. Now I should continue. But I started like now I kind of wanted to involve my faith a bit more, so I kind of started seeing priests more regularly. I remember it started when one Lent in particular, like one of the things that I offered was that I would go every Monday to confession, but obviously, like you only make certain, like from a Catholic perspective, right? There's confession where you confess your sins or whatever, but a priest is allowed to give you counseling. So there's confession and counseling. So it turned more into counseling, and every week I would go, and then I realized that actually helped me as well. Probably even more to my benefit because now it involved someone who's highly trained, but at the same time incorporates the faith. And today I actually go and see the exorcist. He's not exorcising me. He's a certified exorcist of the diocese, and he just happens to be my guidance counselor, and he's in Pismo, and so I see him.
Is it the same church that you got
married? Yeah,
okay,
yeah. So and we matched, just like, oh, we kind of hit it off, and now I go to him every once in a while. I don't go as often. He told me when he went the first time, because he says like a lot of people like I've had a lot of people that want to start counseling with me, and usually after the first day they never want to come back. So I'm just letting you know you should probably come back, but you're probably not. But I should tell you that you should. And I've come back to him, and because he's more intense. He doesn't like shy away, which is something that I like from counselors if I were to have one. Someone that is direct, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through 2-3 therapists, and I understand. Like I want to say they kind of walk around the bush or kind of like tiptoe around everything because they don't. They want the client to come back, obviously, right? Because obviously, like, they're getting paid for it, or whether they're doing an internship or whatever. So they want the client to come back, but at the same time, you almost want them to tell you, like, how it is, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Sam, like, something affected you this much. You need to change this. Or, like, therapists, it's like slow, gradual changes in a sense, right? But I think sometimes you need that hard answer or that. Yeah, I mean, it could come back to your friend group, right? And not having quote unquote yes men. Like you need friends to tell you how it is.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Hey, this girl's not good for you, dude. She's doing this, or hey, like you shouldn't like hang around with these friends because like they're taking advantage of you, or yeah. You need people to tell you how it is because it saves you a lot of time, and that like if they're really your friend, you're not gonna see it as criticism, or you're not gonna see it as them hating on you, or so be it, you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, that you're going to see it as like, oh, he's just looking out for me. Because I feel like if you're in the wrong set of, or wrong mind frame about it, you can say, like, why is Sam hating on me, dude? Like, he's just he's just jealous because he doesn't have this body. Or, he's just jealous that, you know, he's not in my position. But I feel if you know, like, as long as, like, you know that message is coming to you in a form of love or just them looking out for you, it could change, like, it could save you so much time and so much pain, and you just have to like put your ego down on that stuff.
Yeah.
There's
I'm trying to tie this to something that you had mentioned to me over the week, that I really want to talk about, and that was just we were kind of getting close, but we're kind of steering away. So I'm trying to like think how we could go back to it, and that was the whole.
We could just jump straight into it.
Yeah, we can. Well. We were talking about us growing up here, and we constantly talk about that kind of like outside of the camera a lot, and I think it'll be worth mentioning. And I had no idea, but you broke the news that
do we want to say the name? We don't have
no, but of an acquaintance of ours passed away, which I didn't know that he did.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say a friend, but to be honest, I don't think that's fair because I don't think we didn't hang out with him very much. We talked. He once came to my house, and several times he asked me, like, are you selling your car? Sell it to me, man. I want it. He seemed to be really good. He was really getting into, like, machine, like, engines and stuff like that.
I think he was, like, a mechanic.
Was he?
Yeah, he was a mechanic, yeah.
Yeah. And do you want to kind of get everyone up to speed as to?
Oh no! So I mean, when we went off air, I think it was like last week. I brought. So this is another friend that we went to school with. We played in the Marima band with, right? And I was like, hey, did you know this person? Like, dude, he passed away. And he was like, what? Like, no way. And I remember, I think that same morning I told.
Oh yes. This is a different guy too.
Yeah, that was a different guy. We were cool. I mean, we I don't want to say friend.
We were definitely that. He was more in the friend, almost in that friend zone, right?
So that, and then it's because I brought that together with this guy because it was Friday, and we were just like, isn't it kind of not weird, but how does it feel to like have one of our peers that we went to school with or someone that we grew up with like pass away, you know?
Yeah,
and
there's been a number of them already.
Yeah, this one's like I mean, all deaths are tragic, right? But I mean, I don't know if I want to. I can say the situation, but basically, he was going high speeds on a motorcycle. I don't know if you read the article, but you can find it on KSBY. But he was going at high speeds on his motorcycle and hits a vehicle, and he ends up passing away on a Friday night at 1:00 in the morning. And I actually I don't work with his sister, but she works in the same company, and I talk to her every now and then. I was like, hey, so how's so and so? Like, it's like, oh, he's not doing good, and I was like, he's just getting himself into trouble, and I was like, oh crap. And then I just want to finish the whole situation before we can get into our topic that we want to talk about. But I work with his sister, not with, but she's in the same company. And yeah, the car accident, I guess I don't know if I'm saying too much, but I asked from a coworker who's like really close to them. They said whether or not like the mom wanted to go down to go see if it was really him, and the cops advised her like, no, like this is really him. He has the tattoos, right? They advised her not to go. So
it was pretty brutal.
Yeah. So it's. The main reason why I brought that up, and the main reason why I always ask, hey, how's he doing, is because I brought this up to Sam, and this is something I want to talk about, and it's something that's been on my mind. Because, I mean, I don't want to say I see it at Poly, but somewhat you see that. I've seen it at Poly, obviously, because there was a case that happened there. But this guy, I immediately always ask, how's he doing? Because I remember when we were growing up, man, I felt so bad for this guy. This guy got bullied. So I don't think I've ever seen anyone get bullied so bad, but by so many people. And part of me wanted to step in and be like, hey, why are you guys bullying him so much? But my main core of friends were the ones that were bullying him, and so I didn't want to make it seem like I was picking his side. And
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, me as like the people pleaser. I didn't want to anger my core friends, so I didn't do anything. But in my mind, I knew it was kind of wrong to just be constantly calling, like, I mean, again, this was back in the early 2000s, so like, just imagine all the words that I could say, like beep beep, like you can just bleep all of them out if you wanted to. But this guy got the kitchen sink thrown at him, and part of me was just like, man, I wonder if being bullied at such an early age how does it affect you growing up? You know, because a lot of people it's fuel, right? Like it could be something that's fuel to where, like, you know what, I'm gonna like outgrow the bullying and I'm gonna be somebody. Yeah. Or I'm gonna use this fuel and, like, you know, I'm just gonna go down this negative path where I get into drugs, alcohol, running from the cops. I'm not saying this is a situation, but that's one of the potential things, right? There's one where you could take the high road and make yourself into someone to be of some sort of significance in a positive way, or I'm just gonna go down the wrong path, right?
I'm hopeful that he had a healthy adulthood. I'm hopeful. I hope that it was the case, because when you interact with him, he seemed normal. He he didn't seem like an abused kid. Yeah. But yeah, it was sad to see. I remember that I remember several times. Like, I could count maybe on my hand that he did bully me a little bit. But it was nothing, like, very few. It was. I think it's more his defense mechanism or something. Like, it was just his way to cope with the environment that people would. So it didn't affect me much. I remember another person that was similarly bullied, but definitely not as much. And I'll bleep his name, but do you remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, him. He was
Rat Tail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and he would and he would bully me a lot. He would, but at the same time, he was also kind of my friend every once in a while. Like, we'd hang out, and then I one time he invited me. my relationship with him was weird. It was like this push pull. Like sometimes he would invite me to play games, but I know he had this. Both of them had this characteristic of impulse, right? They had like an aggressive way of approaching people. I want to say, did that happen to you, or maybe that's just my interaction with them?
Yeah, like it was more they approached you, and like if you liked what they were doing, then like, oh cool, we're friends, and then like they would like forcefully put something on you, and if you didn't like it, they'll be like, oh come on, just do it, man, or like, you know what I mean? Like
I remember the former one, not the the latter person I was talking about.
Yeah.
I remember one time he bullied me, and I had enough, and I fucking threw I'm reliving it a little bit. I grabbed his textbook and fucking threw at him because he was on a desk. You know, do you remember those desks that like had like a wire here?
Oh yeah.
And so if I'm sitting, I can't go that way, but he can because he's over there, and he could like get off because this part's free, and he was able to go like this and like smack me back here. I'm like, stop it, and then he did it again, and I couldn't go. And he would go fast, so I wouldn't get him. So I'd grab the textbook and throw it at his ass, like in his face. And then everyone was like, "Woo!" And then the teacher took me like, "What happened?" And no one said anything. I just looked like he saw my face. I was probably like red or like fierce in my eyes, and he just like, "Whoa!"
Damn.
But I just remember that happened. But yeah, they would be aggressive. The former less so, but yeah, it was sad to see that stuff. And as a kid, you're like, I shouldn't get involved. You know, like.
Yeah, I wish I could have been one of those people, man. Who knows if that would have had some sort of effect on him. And again, I'm not trying to say like, man, I wish I had an effect on his life. No, it was those what ifs when because whenever I talked to with his sister at work, I always wondered because the back of my mind, like, man, I told my coworkers, like, man, her brother got bullied so bad, like you guys don't even know, like yeah, obviously he might have gotten into like a couple of scuffles at school, but it's just that verbal abuse and how you're talking about, like, I immediately thought of was like, man, that must be a weird or tough way to like raise kids now. Like, could you imagine now with bullying? Like, it's not physical or verbal anymore. Now it's like on the phones too.
Oh,
and, like,
yeah.
Imagine like and again, like if you're gonna raise your kids to not have social media, like good for you.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna be like such a huge plus about that because. Yeah. Bullying could like start at school and then it follows them on the way home because if they're on their phone and they see it constantly, like, hey, like, look at this video, he looks so stupid, I put this filter on him and he looks like, look how big his nose is, or it's just, I can only understand what the amount of like bullying, like what kids go through nowadays, because like we understand like how brutal and savage kids are at that age because they're just looking for a way to belong or make themselves feel good. And
I wonder, I haven't had the opportunity to go through like bullying online, but I wonder how bad it can get. I know I've heard of things of how terrible it can be, but I'm trying to like, would it have that same effect if I was in that person's shoes that is getting bullied online? I don't know. We're getting into that territory where we can, so I wonder what's going to be like when we start getting our first trolls, or our first bullies, online bullies. For sure. So, yeah, I wonder. I wonder what that will do to us.
Yeah.
And then we could probably get an insight as to how bad it could be for a kid.
Yeah.
Which at the same time, which is another reason why kids should not be online.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Opening up if parents are concerned about opening up to strangers, like that's a place where opening up to the whole world, The old generation. I mean, like our thing, the whole joke, or not joke, but it's basically, hey, don't talk to strangers in vans. Like, no, like this generation is like, no, like don't put like your social media, or don't put social media in their hands. It's just, forget it.
What I wanted to ask is, because you talked about it, I'm like, okay, I wonder how Sam felt at this time, because I don't know if you talked about, but our former acquaintance, you got bullied by him like a couple times, right?
Yeah.
So when he came around like and asked to like, hey, sell me your car or whatever, like, did you have any like emotions that still were inside of you?
No, I actually was really joyful that he felt comfortable enough to approach me. I remember the first time I remember when we were in high school. because this only happened in middle school. I feel like that sort of bullying only happened in middle school. Like once we went into high school, I kind of feel like it didn't matter, and I know that typically is not the case for a lot of people in America. Like the what's the name, the stereotype is the bullying goes all the way through high school, and for us it kind of wasn't the case. We had a special case where our high school was composed of a lot of different middle schools. So now you're entering a different pool that's just kind of like almost starting over.
Can I say it's predominantly white people too?
Yeah. I think we were, perhaps at the time, Guadalupe was maybe 30% of the population there, maybe a little less.
Maybe a little less, yeah.
No, actually, probably a lot less.
Yeah.
But it kind of started over, and so I hardly interacted with him. But one time I waited for the bus, and he was kind of like hanging out with my brother and talking, and they were both talking, and I actually felt happy that was happening. Like I held no resentment, because for the most part, I felt for him, like I kind of understood his position, and I wished, like even for the latter person that we talked about, same thing. It's like we felt like that reaction was a product of where he was at. Like he was in a hostile environment. So their only defense was to fight back the same way. So when we were in high school and I saw him interacting with my brother, I was like, "That's cool, that's cool." And so he kind of had a relationship with my brother, my older brother. So I thought that was cool, and I was happy to see that. And when he would interact with me, he's like, "Yo, you selling it?" Like, "Nah, man. Like, you want it?" It's like, "Yeah." And we had another car. A Honda Civic, I want to say it was like 98, 99. It was a black 2-door, and it was one of those, it was it was one of those cars that could be fixed to be like a race car. And I know that he would want it. It's like, "Oh, dude, I want that. Let me know when you're selling it." "Yeah, I'll let you know." And then my brother sold it, and I felt bad. And like I told the dude, it's like, "Dude, I'm so sorry. They like sold it before I could even tell you." So I forgot to tell them. It's like, "No, it's all good. Tell me your other one. You're great." It's like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. And which sucks now, because now I actually want to sell it. So it's like, knowing that, part of me was like, "Oh, I should have told them," yeah. And also the latter person, when I would take the bus from Rigetti, he had a girlfriend from there, which to me was like, "Oh, that's cool." And he would actually talk to me fine. He's like, "Hey, what's up, Sam?" It's the completely different, because he's in a, part of me thinks that it's because it was a different environment that wasn't hostile to him, so now he could open up and be more like friendly to people.
I had this feeling, or this kind of concept about it, but would you think that, I don't want to make it seem like, oh, like it's Guad versus us, like do you feel like because we were all Guad people is because like, okay, hey, like now we're not like the majority here, we gotta stick together.
Yeah, I think that was part of that for sure. Because like, I think we had to feel tight knit. I think so.
But we also, I mean, there were friends from like Guadalupe. I don't want to like say the term but we had people from Guad that like wanted to, I want to say, act like there was nothing to do with, like, "Oh, I'm not from Guad."
Gotcha.
Like,
no, I know.
I want to say
when you're about to say it, it's like, I know where he's going with this. Sorry.
But they wanted to be like more immersed into the culture there and like make friends there, and like, "Oh, these are my friends now." Like, it's like, dude, what happened? This was just a year ago. Now you acting like you don't know us anymore. Or like,
I knew of people that never lived here but came to school here and liked the fact that they were like, they felt like they were Guad people that did want to stick more with Guad people. But yeah, no, I definitely saw that. Yeah, I could think of them now. I'm like picturing them too.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. I wonder how they probably, now that we're a lot older, they probably know like that was BS. Like, that shouldn't have mattered.
Well, because there's a lot of things in our life that doesn't matter, man. Like bullying, man. Like, what is that really? Like, is it just basically like trying to fulfill something for the short term, as far as like making fun of someone for the expense of your satisfaction, or as far as like your pleasure? And then like I was thinking they did that to him, and like think about long term wise, like, dude, they don't know how big of a effect they made on his life. Because
that's a good question.
because I mean, I don't want he got into like I don't want to say drugs, but like he did. I don't know. He just wasn't doing. I've heard like he would be drunk all the time. He would drive drunk to places, and
Oh, really?
yeah, like
that's gotta be part of that.
There's a lot of other things because like his mom and his dad got divorced really early when he was young too. So there's a lot of variables, but I'm sure the bullying did not help to that or contribute to it.
I want to say misery like wants to produce more misery. Like I do think that the bullies. Like, I don't understand bullies, because me growing up, I wanted to have friends, right? And I'm guessing that you probably thought the same. Like, you didn't care to hate. You cared to, like, just have friends, have a good time and fun.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt, because I know we talked about how you got bullied, but for me, I was so concerned about everyone liking me. Yeah. And so I didn't want to get bullied, because, like, that would, I would take it personally, right? Yeah. And so for me, I wanted everyone to like me, and so I would do things, I would do sport. I mean, I don't want to get deep into it, but like the main reason why I played sports, like remember we were talking about how there's something about where someone works hard, like they're really like into things, or there's something admirable like as far as like a hardworking person, or we talked about it previously, but I mean I played volleyball, I did track, I did basketball, and I was like everyone thought like I was cool, and I was like oh cool, like people think I'm cool, I'm gonna go do these things, and would I say I acted a certain way? No, I mean I wanted to act a certain way so everyone felt comfortable and had a joyous time. So was I somebody that I wasn't? A little bit, but at the same time, I knew like I wanted everyone to feel comfortable and everyone to like me. And so speaking of that, I never really got bullied. I think the only time I got bullied was possibly in high school, but that was like on the football team. And then there's one time, well, I mean, it's not really bullying, but it was like a guy being racist to me. And this was when I was in like in 6th or 7th grade. I was a guy across the street. But then that, like,
I think it's funny because like the bullies from these two people that we talked about, kind of didn't matter to me. They didn't affect me very much.
But there's one bully that I want to ask about, but we don't have to say his name, but. I remember you brought it up to me one time.
I think I'm gonna bring that up right now. So like, but there was one particular one that did affect me. Okay. In middle school, and I'll bleep his name again, but it was. Yeah. Yeah, like he was constant, and part of me just didn't understand why, like, because on his end, like I didn't see what in his life was causing. What was I doing to cause him anything? And part of me just felt like he just saw the opportunity and. Then just kind of decided to pick on me for some reason.
Well, so I probably told you this before, and maybe like you didn't hear me, but he got bullied a lot too. I don't know if you knew that.
No,
so
like
no. Maybe
in middle school too.
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember he moved here.
Yeah.
So he moved here.
I didn't remember him from elementary school.
Yeah, no. So he moved here during middle school, and so I mean, everyone probably knows this. Like the new kid that moves to the town, like it's probably the easiest to bully, right? You know, like oh, who's this new guy? Like oh, let's make fun of him, and you know, so that he got bullied a lot too. So maybe it's that concept of like these two other people. How they got bullied, like the only way they knew how to like actually respond is to be defensive and give it right back to someone else, even if they didn't know anything about that person.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to do a bunch of bleeping here because I'm gonna be name dropping, but otherwise I feel like you wouldn't understand what I'm trying to say, and maybe if I do say it, hopefully the bleeping would make. Maybe I'll like do certain bleeps for certain people, you know. but like for example, because I moved to Mexico and came back. Yeah. And I think that also kind of even though I loved my experience in Mexico, it made me love Mexico a lot and kind of keep my Spanish very on point. But when I came back, you know, when I left, I had really good groups of friends. I was never bullied, and even the people that tried, and here's another name drop. Do you remember? Yeah. Like the skinny kind of like people bullied him too a lot. I don't know if you remember him.
You're not talking about the last time that we were talking about, like no. Okay. Oh, I know you're talking about. You have like maybe like a bleached little.
No, that's
no. That's no. There was a where like I remember.
He had like always a buzz cut. He always had.
Yeah, I rember because I know who you're talking about because I remember
the guy with the white spot. That's
I know that, but like he see. I felt like he had something too. Because I remember he beat us in paddle tennis. It was 2 versus 1, and he beat us. He was the only one. And it pissed me off.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, that he did that. Well, anyways, I remember that I would get in fights with him. Yeah. Maybe 2, and then the other person was.
Oh yeah,
but even though, but it was more. I didn't feel bullied because like I actually stood up. I don't know why. And I remember one time. Maybe I won't bleep out their names because I think it'd be funny if they actually hear it. One time, I don't know why, and me got in a fight, and this was in 3rd grade. And then people just like, and then the whole school like came up, and then the people like I remember like some teachers like came, took us apart, took us to principal Principal Nichols, yeah. And I was gonna say Knuckles because people called him that. Remember that?
Well, he had hairy ass knuckles. I feel bad because I'm turning into him, but like.
Oh, I'm certainly into.
Yeah. I was like, oh, look at this guy with the hairy knuckles. I'm like, no, what's happening to me?
Dude, I'm definitely a werewolf too. It's all good. But I remember like we were there and we were when we were sitting there, we just kind of stood quiet, and at the end we were all kind of like friends. This is the weirdest thing. We were just like, hey, what's up? Yeah, let's do something or whatever. I don't remember. But I don't exactly remember, but I just remember that experience. We were fighting, went to the office, all 3 of us. Although them 2 went to the office very often because they were both kind of like troublemakers. So I'm just like, probably that one visit is like one in hundreds that they went in. Not to that's not talking bad about them. I'm just saying that there was this one experience that did happen with me and them 2. So I never experienced necessarily bullying wasn't a problem with me in elementary school. When I went to Mexico, then came back.
That was in high school, or I mean, when you moved to Mexico.
When I moved to Mexico
was in high school?
No, that was 5th grade elementary.
Okay.
So I didn't have my 5th grade here.
Okay.
And in our middle school starts at 6th grade, not 7th, which usually some of them do. But
that's what it is now here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I went to Mexico, I left with a set of friends here, right? So I had friends like I had Juan, still is one of my best friends. I had Carl, another one, and a lot of these like I remember what's his face.
Yeah,
it was like, well, yeah, I wasn't necessarily like super close with him, but he was like around like the same circle of sorts. So I had this like. I felt like I had a place, if that makes sense. When I left, came back, I felt like I had to start over. And I was because I came from Mexico, the school wasn't confident of me going back to Avid. Because I was in Miss Webb's class.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Which was the precursor to Avid.
Yeah.
And I was under the assumption that I'd be back in that Avid class. My English was still great. But because I came from Mexico, they were like, yeah, he has to start in another course. So they put me on a course where it was a lot of immigrant students, and it was a different like social circle, which I was fine with. But now all the friends that I missed were all in a different class. So I was already kind of like separate from that circle. I was in new territory, and slowly I felt like that connection never came back. So I was kind of devastated that happened. Not only that, but people from that group started bullying me, and because was kind of like a part of that group. So I was just like damn, like I lost him, and now I have that. So that did affect me, and I never did shit to that guy. So like, why did he? So from my perspective, it was kind of depressing because like I at least understood the other 2. They were not living in a good environment. This guy, I didn't see that part, but he picked a random guy, and I think maybe the reason why he picked on me was because he saw that I wasn't in the same classes, and somehow I was still kind of slightly being accepted by the group. And he probably saw me as like this guy that's just trying to be part of that group, and I don't know if he felt threatened by that. It could have been. Yeah, but like I didn't understand, and so part of me like kind of felt depressed by that because like, what did I ever do? And here he is calling me faggot and all that stuff, and I'm just like, but I'm not.
I swear it's not. I'll go kiss a girl right now. Let me show you.
Yeah, so that really affected my confidence because I was a very confident kid. Even back then, like my family would tell me like, this guy's fearless. And for the first time in my life, I felt so insecure, So it was just weird.
It's one of those things where like when you're feeling like you're on top of when like there's nothing bad gonna happen to you, and when all of a sudden like you get hit with bullying, I mean, because you experienced bullying in third grade, so this was later, like a couple grades later, right?
Yeah.
So I feel when someone kind of like criticizes you, or in this case bully you, like it's just like the heck, like you're like, why is this happening to me? Especially as a kid, right?
Yeah.
Because at least when you're an adult or like in high school, you can process it a little better. But when
Yeah.
you're like in middle school, you're just like, dude, what the heck? So it makes you feel like crap,
Yeah.
and you don't know like whether, I want to say you don't know whether to like do it back to them, but part of you really knows like I'm not gonna do anything. Like why am I gonna like bully you back or talk smack to you back?
Yeah.
Like I don't care to like talk smack to you. I don't care at all.
Yeah.
But it makes you feel like crap. 'Cause you're just like, well, do I want to go run and tell my parents? What do I do? Like it leaves you, I want to say helpless, or not helpless, but it's just, it leaves you kind of wondering like, what do I do? Like,
Yeah.
because obviously like you want to still make friends, but then you don't want to run the risk of getting bullied again. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it's weird. Like for me, I don't understand why I didn't fight back. Cause like cause like for example, the other people that got physical, I would easily fight back. But for some reason, I decided not to for this guy. And part of me thinks like I should have stood up and like because you know, as when I was in high school, I realized like he probably would not dare to fight back. You know, like he's probably a that's what I was thinking. He was probably a wuss, and probably like I could probably get down and beat him up, or at least try. But part of me, for some reason, that was not my reaction, and because the last thing I wanted to be is like known. I'm not saying that this is it, but maybe it's because I didn't want to be known as like a guy that fought a troublemaker or whatever.
yeah.
Anyway.
No, I mean, so like revisiting like these bullying experiences, because I can't tell you my bullying experience because I can count on one hand. I mean, you can too, but it's only happened to me maybe once or twice. But like, how does like being bullied? Do you feel like it affects you still, or like if you were to see these people now, like would you still have that? You said before that there was two people where you're like, oh no, like it's fine, like it's just different. But the latter one, how do you feel if you were to see this person now?
Well, I saw him several times at Hancock and in close proximity, and I can tell you right now, my experience with that interaction was different than the other interactions with the other two people. Like with them, I was actually joyful. With this one, there was something inside that wasn't fully comfortable. But
you're not over it, right? Or like,
well, at the time, I don't know about now. I really don't know about now. But for some reason, that particular one, I think I was able to ignore it. But deep down, I know that it was not the same. Like I wasn't like, oh yeah, cool, he's there, yeah, let's talk or whatever. No, it was one of those that like I didn't care. So I wasn't. It was lacking that joy. It was just lacking.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So like but I mean, he was there. We were talking. It was fine. It was no problem. But yeah, I could tell you, maybe it wasn't resentment. Maybe it wasn't resentment. Maybe it was more indifference, and it lacked the joy.
Yeah.
From the other.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. No, I always wonder like how, like if you were to go ask the bullies like how would they feel like if they like actually if they flash back in movies and like, hey, like this was you bullying, like how would you feel now about it? And you're like, man, I always felt like how would they feel about them bullying? Like, do they feel like they look back on it and like, oh, I'm glad I bullied him. That was such a good fuck.
Oh yeah, I wonder.
Bust his balls. Like, oh, that was so fun.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, why did we go so hard on him, man? I feel like a sack of shit now looking back at it.
Yeah, and part of me feels like I don't necessarily need an apology. I don't think I need an apology. I'm fine with no apology. What I want to know is why. I think that's what I want to know. Like, I'd rather him explain, like, why'd you do that? Like, seriously, you don't, like, the dude doesn't have to apologize at all. And I'm trying to think if I ever did that. I'm pretty sure I did. Maybe, like, I might have bullied the person from the other fight.
Yeah.
But I might have bullied him, and he didn't bully me ever. I kind of recall, like, maybe once or twice doing that to him. But, I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's... Yeah, bullying, I mean, I always wonder what that stems from. I wish we could, like... I mean, maybe we do have, like, listeners that probably can tell us, like, where that comes from. Maybe it's, like, kids wanting... fulfilling something that they're missing in their life, or maybe they have some sort of, like, belonging, but... Yeah, it's rough, man. Because I now that he's gone, I'm just like, man, I wonder if bullying really contributed to that guy's life. Because yeah, it'd be a shame to know like he went down that wrong path. Again, I don't know if like there was drugs or alcohol involved in the crash, but I don't know, going at high speeds at 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't know, man. I'm not making any assumptions, but man, that's insane. That
Yeah.
it's just yeah.
Yep.
I don't know where we're at on time because we started a little weird. I don't know.
Yeah, this is true. Well, we can keep going. I just have something to do at 3, so that's more than an hour away.
Oh, okay, no worries. I mean, there's a couple things I want to talk about. We can go into maybe ego instead.
Oh, the article that you sent.
Or we could skip that one.
Well, I don't know how to transition to that.
I don't know how to. I would have to I would need more time to digest on that because I don't know how I feel about it. I have like a little thing on it, but yeah, we can do it another time.
Yeah, it's a. Okay.
It's a little.
I'm happy if we skip it because it's a little bit. It's a hot topic today, and I honestly don't know how I feel about it either. I could think objectively, and I know that thinking objectively might take me into misunderstanding, and people might think, might judge who I am without it fully understanding what I'm trying to say.
Sam the anti-vaxxer, oh my god, another take on this? Oh my god, just kidding.
Yeah. But I think hot takes are fun, but this particular one, it's too close to home.
Yeah, well, especially where we're at, and we'll talk about it once we feel like we have a good...
Yeah, do you have any hot takes at all recently? Maybe as a thing to just kind of...
See, I don't even know. I don't even know if I have any hot takes. I have boring... I don't even... boring. My life's boring right now. No, I mean... I guess to move away from it, I don't have any hot takes. Do you have any hot takes?
I don't know.
I mean, that would be a hot take what we're talking about, but I mean, I would want to do more...
Yeah.
I would rather form an opinion of my own rather than like...
Well, maybe hot take in pertaining to what we talked about. I'm not really sure that there should be like a school regulation of anti-bullying. I don't know. Like it's less a... So, school could do something to regulate misbehavior. That's true. But I don't think it should be the objective of the state to minimize bullying. I think it's really up to parents. And how can parents do something to help with the bullying?
Yeah.
And if the kid doesn't behave, like, if the parents aren't doing anything, then maybe, I don't know. But I do think that the parents of the kid who's getting bullied, don't be afraid and let them fight. Like encourage them to stand up. Because I feel like a lot of parents is like, who bullied? I'm gonna go take care of it. It's like I don't think that's what kids want. Like that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to tell my parents because I didn't want them to get involved. And the last thing I want is maybe a listening person, like someone to listen of what I'm going through, and to tell me like, go ahead and stand up, you have my permission, like sort of deal. Like I think parents need to stay away from their kids, like, because that stuff's personal, and I feel like what they want is a better solution than what they can do for themselves. I don't know.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe too, like if you have your parents step in, then the bullying
will not stop.
They'll be like, "Oh, what are you gonna do? You're gonna call your mom and dad?"
Yeah, not only that, but you probably open yourself up for other bullies, Yeah,
I'm like, oh, that's so funny. I'm like, oh man, I'm a dickhead. You're gonna call your mom and dad again? Or like it can just further the bullying, and it's just
open himself up for more.
I agree with that because
no one likes a tattletale. No one likes like someone bringing like the forces like. Okay, that's kind of a coward.
Yeah. I guess maybe a tattletale is only like, I guess it's subjective, right? Unless it's like something serious. Okay.
Yeah, like, no, for sure.
But if it's just someone's like, dude, like, why'd you have to go tell someone that? Really? Like.
Yeah. Yeah. I think parents need to teach their kids how to defend themselves for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That, I guess that couldn't, I don't know if that was a hot take or not.
No, I mean, I think that's, a lot of people are just like, oh, no, they didn't do more, but it's. What they're gonna waste? I won't say waste their time and resources on like putting more awareness on it, but at the same time, it's I want to say it's part of life because it kind of sucks. Like that would be part of life, but it is something out there that could possibly happen to your kids, right?
Yeah.
So
more likely than not, like I'm pretty sure everyone has experienced some sort of bullying. So it's just a matter of intensity and reoccurrence.
Yeah.
Repetitiveness.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I yet to think. I yet to find someone like, yeah, I never got bullied. Like, no.
Yeah, no, it's happened to a certain effect.
And I think I'll be pissed off if someone's, yeah, I never got bullied. I'll be so pissed off. I'm like, well, good for you,
I
chick. Like, see, well, you should have been bullied. I'll bully you now. Fuck. We could end it early if you want.
Yeah, I wanted to.
It feels weird because we wanted to talk about that other thing, but like, yeah, I'm a little intimidated by it.
Yeah, we have two things I want to. But I mean, yeah, we could end this early, so it'd be a decent time for the listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can just talk about it like another time. But it's again, it's more better for the listeners because they get more episodes out of us, and we don't get run out of topics.
Is there anything you're looking forward to this week? Or
I might be going to San Jose because it's my niece again. I have a lot of. My dad had a lot of. Not half white, not half.
He loved a lot.
We could say he loved a lot. So basically, I have nieces and nephews that are the same age as me, or maybe a little older. Mm-hmm. But one of my nieces in the Bay Area in San Jose, she has a kid that's turning 1. But the only thing that's stopping me is like I have work to do. So if I would go out there, I would probably not do any homework.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, I might leave here soon, but at the same time, I'm more leaning towards not going.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. The one thing that I guess I want to maybe put to the listeners is like we started posting to TikTok.
Oh yeah, dude, can you tell me what happened to TikTok? Because I know it went dark for a day, but what happened, please? Because I'm not in the TikTok world, but I heard that it went off and then it went back.
It went off on Saturday, and then I guess like hours, like maybe like 10 o'clock on Sunday West Coast time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's back. Yeah, like I can send you the message, but it said like, oh, President Trump, like. It's I guess it's back for 90 days temporarily until because I think there's more optimism that it's gonna stay. Like they're pretty positive that a buyer in the U.S. can actually like keep it for good. So I mean, I don't know if people pay attention, but we've been posting to Sam posted our first short on YouTube. We've been posting reels to Instagram, and I just started putting our shorts on TikTok. And I don't know. How do you feel about like us being on multiple social platforms? Do you feel any anxiety?
Yeah, or being on different places. Yeah.
Okay. So what TikTok does, and I was like, oh crap. Okay. So it automatically like gets your contacts into your from your phone, and then it suggests your profile to other people, right? And I was like, oh crap. So people are gonna know like we actually have a podcast now. Okay, this is it. But you can turn the setting off or on, but. That was like, holy crap, okay, like, yeah, people can possibly find some of this content and be like, oh, Sam, what? Or, oh, Patrick, oh my gosh.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so...
You're like, Sam's so fat now.
Oh my God.
God damn it.
It's just, there's something about that where we're talking about being vulnerable, right? Because, like, we get to be vulnerable on this podcast. And
it's nerve-wracking. Every time we put ourselves in the new platform, it's nerve-wracking. Like, yeah. I'm excited of the... I like the turn that we took and went on YouTube. And that's actually been pretty exciting. People have been reacting pretty positively.
Yeah.
We get to have comments, our first comments, which, I mean, I'm not pushing anyone to do comments. Yeah. Like, I'm not sure I'm ready for them. Yeah. But, you're free to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to find our first trolls. Like, hey, look at that. But then I hope YouTube doesn't cancel them, because, YouTube does, like, an automatic, like, removal. And I kind of want that. Like, I kind of want to see, like, what are the... Like, even if they're scams, I just hope everyone knows that they're scams.
Yeah.
But, that and... subscribers are tricky, because, like... How do you get people to subscribe? I don't
know. We'll talk about it off air, but I was gonna tell you about that, but... Yeah. Yeah, I just... The TikTok thing, I almost caught myself into... I was like, okay, yeah, I could see how this is addicting, because...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so
I do not want to even touch that platform.
The popular just post and ghost. Like, I just post what we do and just leave the app. Yeah. So it's cool that we have our like socials out there, but I don't like being on social media as much anymore like I used to.
Yeah.
Just because I know it's time consuming, and like again, we're both pretty busy people, and I just don't want to add another thing to where I can just mindlessly waste my time on there.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, it's for entertainment, right? Like,
yeah.
But
people can take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think part of me is eager to get people involved and talk to them directly and see what they say.
Yeah.
And correct us if we're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, we could talk. I can talk a little bit about it, but part of me, like, when I was on when I still have an Instagram, but when I was deep into like bodybuilding and stuff, you almost kind of, like you said before, like, what are you doing it for? Are you doing it for the likes? Are you doing this? Because I remember when I was posting for my shows and stuff, I would see people that I looked up to, and I'm like, oh, I gotta act like them because it's working for them. And so I was almost like posting things in hopes of like, oh, I want to get the same success as them.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And so I was like, oh, I gotta act like them. Cool. Okay, I'll get likes like them. I'll be where they're at. Because I mean, what's that saying? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh crap. Okay, maybe I can be like that person. And obviously, it got me to a place where I'm like, oh crap. Okay, like, if I just work hard and be like this person, but it's almost like social media, and I'm trying to like refix that relationship with it. For me is. I wouldn't say I got to like a negative place, and I probably did at times, but yeah, like that's why I'm kind of like very careful because I'm kind of like slowly re-entering social media again. I want to make sure I'm in the right space.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. For me, I guess for me, I haven't been able. Well, to me, for my clients, when I do their social media stuff, it matters. The numbers matter So I do put effort to make sure that I get more people. So it's a different perspective from yours and mine, because for me, like, to me, it's just like, it's a breather to not care about who's getting subscribed and stuff without that motivation of that business side. So I'm okay. I'm happy that I'm able to be as creative as I can with this. So, like, I have so many ideas and plans for the podcast if we ever get even further. The only concern is, the more audience, the more where there's incentives for us to keep going. Otherwise, like, the podcast could go away. Who knows? It depends on our time, right? Because at some point, we're going to get even more and more busier, which we need incentives to continue this.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. So the only thing that I want to do is to continue doing this. We could be more and more creative and talk about more things. Like one of the things that I want to do is bringing your Brian Masatani here. Like, I want to talk to that guy and get more history about our town, because I know that he has a lot of insights, and just see what it was like getting rid. Like, it ends at his. Like, I bet that was a big thing, a big step that he had to do. That kind of was bigger than him. Not bigger than him, but like it had his past. It was rooted in that store and this town. So I want to talk to him, and then there's like other things that like the bodybuilding stuff. Like I kind of want to do an episode where you're in your element and just kind of you tell us advice about stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's some things I'm like possibly like I could talk about, like I'm gonna possibly be doing. So yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, things like
that. I mean, I want to like we had like business, or we dove into a lot of things when we were at the house that one time. We were talking about like how deep into your company, how you talked about. I definitely want to talk about like your goals and aspirations again, and see. It's good to like check in on like where we were, because we can like it's cool we're documenting this.
Yeah.
So like we can go back. Oh man, I can't believe like we did this, and oh, remember when we had this goal and like we passed it, or like, oh, like how we used to be this, but now we're a totally different 180 person. Like we don't even, it's cool to see where we're at as far as like, because we constantly like growth or.
Yeah. You know what else would be kind of cool? Like, let's say if someone is interested in learning like the stuff that I learned in the cult stuff, but Dude. Like if they were interested, and then we just kind of like go undercover, and then I just kind of mentor the guy, like do this, do that, and then see how it would go. That would be kind of cool to have an episode where we just follow the guy, and kind of everything that I'm teaching him, to see if he can try it out.
Dude,
that'd be kind of sick.
Yeah,
see if it at all even works today. Part of me thinks that it's universal, like it should happen anywhere, and you can do it anywhere. But yeah. We could put it to the test. That would be kind of cool.
Dude, that'd be a cool project for us to do.
Yeah. Anyways, those are ideas.
For sure.
That I hope to get to with this podcast.
No, I'm excited too. Like it's, again, part of it, I guess it's with anything too, right? The more that you get deeper into it, the more you're just like, oh crap, like I don't know what this is going, or I don't know like what's going to happen, but we're just going to do it,
Yeah.
Like me with the bodybuilding thing, you with the business, like you leaving that one company you're working for, and then it's like, well, this is the leap of faith. We're just going to go with it.
Yeah.
But no, it's exciting time, and it's cool to like have this podcast back, like I said a couple of times, but what about you? Anything you're looking forward to in the weekend?
The weekend. Yeah, actually today, my friends are coming over. We're making drinks. If you want to come,
Cool.
I'm making Manhattans.
I probably have a lot. I mean,
You know, if you want to stop by and say
yeah,
hello,
I'll stop by and say what's up.
Yeah, and I might make a poker night.
Ooh,
So if you want,
right, look at that. Look at
because
you.
we talked about poker and like, you know what? I was thinking of doing like board game night and like play Catan or something, or Azul, but I mean poker. Why not poker? It's been a while since I played poker,
dude. Yeah.
So if you want to come, yeah,
for sure. I'll try to. I have like a bunch of online stuff to do tonight, but yeah, I haven't done anything social in a minute. Yeah.
The other thing is, Abby and I are due for a date, so we might not be able to get to it on the weekend, but might do it like during the week, like on a lunch. Just take a really long lunch. We were supposed to do like a picnic or something.
Cool.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's planned and everything. We just need to get the details right because it has to do. It's during the time that we have to plan it well so that our kids are taken care of. You know, so that's why it's most likely during the weekday. But maybe weekend. Maybe if some of my siblings are down to look after my kids.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. Because like you said, I think it's easy to get caught up. Not caught up, but also like taking care of your kids. And how do you find that balance of not being there for them, but also like making time for yourself without feeling guilty for it, right? Like,
yeah.
I think there has to be a fine balance for that. And yeah.
Oh, I'm also excited. Sorry, last thing.
Okay.
Our YouTube platform is I'm starting to get a hold of what's going on, like the audience that we're getting. So now I'm excited to strategically put shorts and everything, and just put more content than just because I'm seeing the reaction I kind of see a pattern now. Now that you have a pattern, it starts going uphill usually from here. So I'm excited to what's gonna happen.
Cool, dude. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the more that happens to, the more that we feel like, okay, the more that we have to put into it, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like yin and yang, right? Like, how like, yeah, that's a tough one because I want to put more into it, but at the same time, how do you balance it with all the other...
Right. Well, luckily for you've already made pretty good content.
Yeah.
Like, so I could... that's why I asked you, like, send me all that stuff, and then I'll strategically kind of put it all together. I think it should get easier. Let's just at this point, like I don't want us to. I know we have all these other plans to do like these other things, but let's do the lowest hanging fruit first. Just keep going and see if it grows and see what works and what doesn't.
For sure.
So
it's exciting times, man. It's cool to have this back again. It's. I always say like it's awesome to because I can't even say how other than my barber how many of my friends I get to have one-on-one conversation like this where we literally talk about things and I hopefully this has encouraged people with like hey if you want to go start your own podcast do it but it's just having these talks with friends or just with people in general again it's just I don't know it's just therapeutic but also at the same time I feel like they're super necessary where you can just not mindlessly but dude, that doesn't even feel like an hour 20 to 30 minutes. It just feel like we're just talking and I was like, oh crap.
My wife shared that I was doing a podcast and that someone usually I part of me doesn't want her to tell people because I don't want them to know my inner parts but so that's one thing. But then the person actually said, why, does that make money? Is that giving you money? They asked me like, is that making you money? You know, like kind of in a weird way. It's like no, I don't really care if it doesn't make money. I'm using this as an excuse to hang out with a friend because it's kind of putting us making sure that we're still hanging out and connecting
for sure. And then like if we do keep in touch and like we're like, hey Sam, what do you think about this reel? Or hey, like we're constantly like speaking. I mean, texting throughout the week, and then also it leads up to when we meet up for our pods. But that's
isn't that weird? Like people getting into your lives. I don't know.
That's what I immediately thought when I saw TikTok. I'm like, oh crap! All these contacts.
Gonna use your content.
Oh no, they're gonna see my content. Oh my god, they're gonna see when I almost potentially match with my teacher.
She should know.
I know.
She should know.
I'll say her name.
You better tell her right now.
I'm gonna tell you right now. No, I'm just
she's no longer your teacher, right? Right now.
No, she's not my teacher anymore.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I think you have to wait like 3 months. Is that what it is? Something like that.
Know.
Oh no, 2 years. It doesn't matter.
Right. You did some research into it, huh?
No, well, because a friend of mine actually had this. He had this crush on his therapist. Anyways, we won't talk about it. Anyway, that's why I kind of know. Are you in a rush? Because I actually forgot about one thing that I.
No, you're good. I know you. It's
Inauguration. Did you watch it?
I did.
What are your thoughts after that?
We're gonna end up.
No, well, I mean, it's something that happened. Like,
no, for sure.
I love the memes that came out of.
Yeah, there were so
the
many.
The
hat
of the first lady. Yeah,
like,
the POV of Milan. It's just like have black screen.
She was okay. There were so many comparisons of her, like her outfit, like what she looked like the robber from McDonald's.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She looked like the Pizza Hut logo. Like,
oh yeah.
She looked like the Pizza Hut logo. I'm sure there were video games where it's like you remember Kung Lao from Mortal Kombat?
Oh yes, yeah, the hat,
yeah. That's
hilarious.
The one thing that kind of stood out to me was I don't think we've ever seen a president do the executive orders on the first day he.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Was that kind of crazy to you? Like,
yeah.
I don't think we've ever seen something where this is for blah 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 blah. And then,
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen someone like, hey, first day I'm doing all this crap, and like I don't, regardless of like what it was, but
yeah.
I think it's kind of cool to see because how often do we get to see presidents or like, man, I sure hope he does that when he goes to office.
Yeah.
Man, at least first day, boom, he's like, I'm doing all this, and regardless if you obviously we wanted to talk about it, but I think we'll spend more time, and I want to form an opinion about it, but yeah, regardless of like the executive order, I think it's. I want to say cool, but I think it was cool to see a president do that first day in his office to say like, hey, remember the things I said I was going to do? Like, I'm doing it first day.
What about like the one thing I'm really excited about, and I told my brother, was the declassification of the MLK, JFK, and RFK files.
I saw that. I actually
declassified them.
I listened to the news on the way to work, and I guess like. Didn't he say like, oh, like give this to Robert? Or he said something along the lines.
Yeah, he was supposed to do it on day one. He did it on the second or third day. I don't remember, but he did it. I'm just like, oh fuck, they're going on. Wait, so I want to read them.
So what? So he released the documents for?
Well, he declassified them. I don't know. I don't think it's available for us yet to read. But once they're declassified, they essentially become public record. From my understanding, so you could you should be able to read them at some point.
Yeah,
it becomes part of like library if you want to.
Kind of like what they did with like the whole Area 51 stuff. Like, didn't they do like a couple years back or maybe recently?
Oh, with the footages. And
yeah, they're like, okay, like why are they releasing this now? Are they trying to cover up something or trying to distract us from something?
Oh, it could be. It could be, but he promised that way before. He promised that from before last time he was president, which he didn't release. He released some files, not all of them. Now these are declassified. And then there was the I can't. He also promised that he was going to pardon Snowden. I think I'm pretty sure Edward Snowden. So I'm actually really. I hope that he goes through that because, in my opinion, I think he was a hero.
Yeah.
He let us know that Facebook and all of those like. They weren't quite our friends, and they were working with the CIA.
Yeah.
So,
well, even what did he say? God, what's the name? The main guy for Facebook, Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg.
Oh
like,
yeah, but
he changed like how he wants to be like X or formerly known as Twitter. They want to add like, is it Notes?
Yeah, something like Notes.
Where like it's fact checking, whatever, some sort of fact that happens on the internet, like to know like whether it's real or not, or like it has original source of like, hey, like this is the original thing. This is a real news if you want.
Community notes. I think that's what it's
called,
right?
Community notes. Yeah. So I don't spend too much time on Twitter. I don't have it.
It's almost like I don't know if it's going to be very similar to like Wikipedia, but he compared it to what X does. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that's a step in the right direction from those CEOs. Yeah, but Mark Zuckerberg, I still don't trust the guy. I mean, he's just a funny guy.
Well, it's just the fact that I mean, I don't want to. Yeah, it's just the fact that I don't know if you heard like the stuff. I mean, he was on Rogan recently, but I haven't listened to the whole podcast.
Yeah, I listened to the beginning. It was good so far.
He was saying like how was it Biden or like their administration told him like, hey, like we need you to take this down.
Yeah.
And he was just like, no, like why would I take satire down? Like this is this is something that happens amongst amongst culture. Like even though like it's the internet, like this happens even before this. Like we would talk and make fun of things or.
Yeah. Oh, and he would actually take down. They would classify misinformation on stuff that like during the vaccine. That was like an executive thing that there were like people would post things about like real things that happen with vaccines that like they're like for example like vaccines could also have drawbacks to some people. There could be side effects to a lot of people too. Those things were true, but it would be classified as misinformation and taken down. And Zuckerberg was saying like those things are actually real and backed up by science. Like now that's and the government knew that it wasn't, but their agenda was like the last thing we need is for people to think that way so we can push these things. So I'm kind of playing devil's advocate with the government by saying that was their motive, which is understandable, but at a government level, that's really irresponsible. Yeah. And honestly, like a lot of, not me, because I was never really that outspoken about that stuff, but like a lot of people were kind of crucified for just like talking about these points, you know, like in workplaces and just in public, and they're humiliated by a lot of people. So like part of me is like, what the fuck, man? Like people need to say sorry to other people, but I'm kind of glad that the people that outspoke, they could care less if they want forgiveness from other people. But I just want to point that out, that like, yeah, a lot of these people were like fired from their work because they were not they were resisting some of that information. So I don't know, just, that stuff does still kind of boil my blood sometimes, you know.
Yeah, it's just.
But yeah, that shit was happening.
Yeah, I think it's just because that point in time, or right. Remember, we're talking about how, oh yeah, whatever. Like if the doctor tells you something to do something, like hey, we're thinking that the doctor's thinking for the most benefit for us, right?
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, when you start thinking for yourself, you're like, oh no, hey, whoa, hey, no, like you don't know what you're thinking about. Like, dude, you could be causing a bunch of harm to yourself, yeah. Or like it's like, well, I did research from this and this, and this tells me like I might have an allergic reaction to this. I feel like I shouldn't do it. And then all of a sudden you get, you know, basically you get viewed a certain way, like I was talking before. But yeah, I think it's because all of a sudden people were actually able to think for themselves that they didn't want that. They did not want that because also you're like, oh, this is a pandemic, and no, anyone who like thought against it, like you need to shut them. I mean, one of my favorite players, I mean, he was for the Green Bay Packers, but he took a lot of crap for it.
Yeah, still red over there?
No.
It's not red?
Yeah, it's red.
Oh,
one of my favorite players is a quarterback for he's on the Jets now, but it's Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
And they made him as the main person. He got made a prime example of, like, yeah, I don't know if you ever like looked into it, but basically, long story short, I know like because we're running short on time, but I want to keep it a certain time frame. Basically, he was on Green Bay Packers. Yeah, this main thing, like, hey, like, this is when vaccination was happening. So this is when players were able to, like, come back and play. But they weren't going to play in front of a crowd because it was going to be empty stadiums. The press from Green Bay was like, hey, so what do you think about vaccines? And like, he's like, oh, I'm immunized. And, like, no one, like, batted an eye. And then all of a sudden, like, months come down, like, hey, he just said he's immunized. Like, what does that mean? And so they looked and, like, oh, he's not vaccinated, because everyone thought he was vaccinated by just saying that word, and they thought like, oh, okay, like he's immunized.
No.
And so all of a sudden they find out, and they made a big example out of him, and so he got COVID one time, and other players were getting special treatment because they got the vaccine, but for him, he had to sit out like 10 to 13 days compared to like who had the vaccine. They were able to come back within 3 to 4 days. Yeah, so he was made a big prime example, and I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, like he was like. Yeah, a lot of people got made a prime example of like, hey, this is what happens when you go against our agenda.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about bullying. That's definitely a form of bullying from press and media.
Yeah, and I want to say like these people are made geniuses, but they look like, hey, like they thought for themselves and they stood by it.
Yeah,
and it's something admirable. It's like, hey, I was thinking right all along, and you guys were basically crucify me because I thought for myself, and I thought what I thought was good for me. You thought I was gonna harm other people because I thought a certain way.
Yeah.
So
it's ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah. That was probably, I won't say entertaining, most entertaining inauguration, but yeah, I thought having all those freaking executive orders and him.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. Okay, he's literally doing stuff, and again, I think that's why a lot of people like Trump, because he does what he says and he has no agenda behind him, but he's. Trying to basically function for the good of America, right? Yeah. So. Yeah,
I remember. What do you think about? Did you notice Bush was? I don't know if he was tweaking or what, but he was like.
I didn't get to see the whole thing. I just saw like I just saw like little highlights of what he did.
He's just like. Yeah. While everyone was like in sync, and also like Joe Biden was like nodding to a lot of stuff that Trump was saying. Like he was like.
What? If I remember, is this again? We could probably check it down the road, but is this the first president to not have his outdoors?
Well, I think they were having like record cold day. Like it was a really cold day for a 20th.
And I also think they wanted to have it indoors because again they wanted to possibly avoid a possible assassination. At least I think.
Oh yeah, it could be.
At least I thought because I know they could have easily just said like, oh, it's going to be a cold weather, but I think they still had that possible assassination on their minds too.
At this point, like it kind of I don't know.
I thought I mean hopefully again I think any I mean we didn't get we weren't alive for that time, but the JFK thing, I mean, imagine seeing like, because look at the quality of video now and like the internet and like you could replay it on multiple channels, multiple videos. Imagine if one of our presidents getting assassinated. I mean, we saw the Luigi dude, the healthcare guy. I mean, I didn't see the video, but he assassinated.
Oh yeah.
But imagine seeing like Trump getting assassinated like on like real time or like on a parade or something.
Yeah, that would have been crazy.
Yeah, that would have been nuts. But
yeah,
it was an entertaining inauguration for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think, Sam?
I think it's good.
I think it's good too, man.
I think so. Well,
that's another episode for you guys.
Yeah, thanks for sticking this long. If you stuck through the whole talk this long.
Yeah, I know.
Hopefully we were entertaining enough or insightful enough.
I hope so too.
Yeah. See you guys.